Okay, let me make sure that's going. Okay. All right, welcome back. This is our last session for today. This is our second business group networking panel. And today we are being joined by Jacqueline Mejas Fuertes. Did I pronounce that correct?
Close enough, Andrea. You're good.
Okay. Can you say it correctly, though?
Mejias Fuertes.
Yes. Okay, right. Thank you.
You're
and
welcome.
she is from the New Jersey Small Business Development Center at Brookdale Community College. We are also being joined by Rachel Klein-Pintori from the NJIT Procurement Technical Assistance Center, also known as PTAC. Don Newman from the New Jersey Business Action Center. Gene Wolf from SCORE, and he is the New Jersey District Director. And I don't know if we have anyone from Monmouth County SCORE, but if you are here and would like to introduce yourself, I don't think so. Okay. So thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Just like before for the attendees who were in the earlier session, we're going to start by allowing each of our speakers to introduce themselves and their organization or who they're representing. And I'm going to keep each of you to about 7 minutes so that we have time for questions from the other attendees. But one thing I do want to say before I go ahead, Jacqueline, I believe that there might be other people on here from the SBDC. I was seeing some people accepting things. So if you happen to look at the list of attendees and see other people and would like them to introduce themselves or would like to introduce them at any point, just let me know. But we're going to start with you, Jacqueline, anyway. If you wouldn't mind giving us an overview of the SBDC and how you work with libraries and what we should know about you. Thank you.
Well, first, thank you, Andrea, for inviting us, the NJLibsGrowBiz from Brookdale Community College, to be part of this summit. I was telling Andrea, kudos to her for being able to engage so many individuals throughout the whole day, 45 to 50. I think that's a pretty good number to keep individuals engaged. And for myself, I am the Regional Director of the Small Business Development Center. Like I said, at Brookdale Community College, we cover both Monmouth and Ocean counties. For those that are not familiar with the Small Business Development Center, we are part of a national organization. And what that means is that you could find us in all 50 states as well as US territories. Here in the state of New Jersey, there are 12 main centers strategically located throughout the state of New Jersey, covering all 21 counties. Now, the main focus of the Small Business Development Center is to provide assistance 2 ways to entrepreneurs and small business owners at any stage of their business. So right now, we know we're going through COVID. I hate calling it a disaster. I hate calling it a crisis because I think we're kind of on overload. But going through this piece that we're going through right now, we are, and I have to say, I've been with the SBDC 13 years. I was here during Sandy, and I know that we are a resource, that we respond, and we are resilient. And by that, I mean that we help the small business community bounce back. So stepping back a little, our mission is to provide entrepreneurs and small business through education and confidential one-on-one counseling, helping them develop the skill set that they need in order for their business to move forward. So for us here in the state, New Jersey, well, Monmouth County specifically, our center has been around for 42 years. And in those 42 years, again, we've been through disasters, local disasters, again, national disasters here. This is the first time that I've been going through anything like this. So our organization really looks to what area does the small business need in order to receive improvement or gather information to help them move forward. Specifically right now with what we're going through COVID, we were very instrumental in getting information out there from the SBA. We are one of the technical support for SBA, and what that means is that we provide, again, assistance to the small business community. We're here to have those sessions, provide the education, help you move forward. In this piece right here with COVID, we made sure we had some webinars going on, making sure that individuals knew what they needed in order to respond quickly to try to get into what Don Newman and I was saying, getting into the queue so they could receive financing to help them along the process. But moving forward, the SBDC is going to be bringing an array of programs to ensure that the small businesses that are able to bounce back do so, and do so in a way that's sustainable so they can continue moving forward. Our particular center, which is hosted by Brookdale Community College, it's small in that I have 14 members. I see 2 of my team members are online, and that's Annabelle Rojas and our assistant director, Maggie is also online, Omolinsky. I saw her there. So those are the 2 I think you were referring to that are online or on the call. So our center, we have consultants that are experts in their field, but make it a point to make sure that we are giving you the information you need to move forward. Our center has contacted within the last 6 weeks, I want to say about 700 businesses, one way or the other, to provide them with the vital information that they were looking for in order for them to make sure that they were going to qualify for some assistance if possible. And if not, what other opportunities were out there? Because it's not just about what's available on the government level, but there's also private sector that's giving out funding as well, and providing information as to how to get the businesses moving forward. And that's where we're going to right now is, preparing them for the reopening. We know that it's not going to happen tomorrow, but right now it's all about that planning phase. So we're strategically moving ourselves with our businesses and saying, yes, some of us are in queue, we're waiting to receive funding, but in the meantime, what are the things that we're supposed to be doing in order to progress along the line, so when the time comes and we're able to open up, they can do so in a safe manner. So for us, that's part of what the SBDC does. I mean, for us, it's continuous. We provide, the service we provide in terms of education stems anywhere from receiving your credentials for your business legally through the state of New Jersey, all the way on down to, I want to say, marketing your business and everything in between. And we really do focus on the business plan and the financial aspect of the business, because those are critical in order for the business to be sustainable and continue to move forward. And we do work with the library, because the library plays a very critical role when it comes to gathering information. And anyone who's going into business and thinks they don't have to do some sort of research or a little homework to get their businesses going or to better market their business, they're mistaken. I'm happy to say that at Brookdale Community College, we even have our own little librarian that we work with, Judith Unger. I don't know if she's on the call or not, but she's pretty amazing. And anytime we send her a client, she's always willing and able to help them with whatever they need. And we do that both to the business community as well as to the students at Brookdale. So we also work with the students, because a great deal of students at Brookdale have the entrepreneurial mindset or are looking to be entrepreneurs and start a business of their own. So we work with them as well. But with the library and on overall, whenever we're working with an individual starting a business, feasibility study, you need to do your homework. Where are you going to go? Who provides you with the best sources? I always tell them the library. JerseyClicks.org is one of the sites that I mentioned, and with Reference USA and all the different other databases that they could utilize once they get into the New Jersey State Library System, and what is it that they need to do. So we work closely with the libraries, because they are a source. They are a tremendous resource for our small business community. So we use you, whether they're starting, whether they're creating a marketing plan, whether they're revisiting their business plan to see how they may want to pivot their business or change their business along the way, create a different business model. We always go back to the sources that are in the library. So that's us from the Small Business Development Center.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And thank you for working so well with the libraries and for, your compliments. So thank you. We really appreciate that. And I realize now how incorrect this slide is, so I do apologize for that. So our next person that I'm going to ask to speak is Rachel from the Njit Ptac. So I'm not sure that I knew what a Ptac was until a couple of years ago when I started working more with businesses. So I'm sure that for many attendees, this will be their first time getting an introduction to what you do.
Well, thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here with several esteemed guests, people I've run into before. And thank you for the opportunity to speak to you guys today. My official title is Senior Procurement Specialist and a VA CVE counselor. Unfortunately, I'm the only one in New Jersey that can verify veterans from the VA to do business with federal agencies. And all of our services are free. We can do that because we are a grant-based institute. We've been at NJIT for 36 years now. I have not been there all 36, but close to it. I'm happy to go where needed, and I love the fact that we're not tied to any percentages or any specific matrix. All we have to do is help businesses grow. And what we usually do best is help them once the small business development centers are finished with their information. We take over because they have to have some work history in order to do business with the government, federal, local, and municipal counties. New Jersey, for the first time ever, has 4 counties now that do what they call set-asides for small businesses. And so we've been out sort of talking to anybody we can to make them listen and pay attention, because I feel like it's the first time we've got to step up over New York or a step 2. And that's been very enjoyable. And again, we cover the entire state minus 1 county. So we do have offices from Atlantic City up to Totowa. And we've got members manning several of those offices when able. Obviously, we can't do that now. But we've been lucky enough, because we are a DoD-funded system, that we get a lot from the Joint Base, from FEMA, and from Picatinny directly for supplies. And then we reach out to our small businesses who can then respond to those. So we've been happily buried, I should say, in work, and have been able to give small businesses a boost without having to give them a loan in order to do so. So that's kind of been very rewarding, even though it's not a good time. It's been pleasant in the other way, because you do this because you like to help businesses. I mean, all of us do it pretty much, I think, for the same reason. We like to help companies. We want them to succeed. So that's our mission. The reason we ended up at a university, and this is sort of an old system, is that it's university based, so that there is a certain amount of a student population that will eventually come into us. And also it's usually co-located with an active ROTC, which is where the military piece comes in. And NJIT fits that bill and has for many years. So it's been kind of nice. NJIT is small but very active, and it's been great in getting everybody ready for the cybersecurity piece that comes next. because that is coming down the pike. Along with more emphasis on grants, SBIR and STTR grants specifically, so that even startups can do that. And just as a caveat, the startups that we do work with are veterans and veterans only. Usually we'll refer somebody back to the Small Business Development Center first to get their business plans done and to sort of get their feet off the ground. And then we take them after they've done some successful bids and some successful businesses. So I like the fact that it's sort of one big circle of people, and that you tend to run into a lot of people at a lot of different events or webinars, and I see a lot of faces, but I'm actually shyer in person than I am on the webinar. So people have seen me, but a lot of times I sort of keep my mouth shut and listen a lot. So the director of the PTAC is the exact opposite of me, so you can't forget him. But I stand closely behind, and you know, I'm the rah-rah of the group. So it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for taking the time to listen. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now I'm going to turn it over to Don from the New Jersey Business Action Center.
Good afternoon. So normally at this point, I say to the whole group, raise your hand if you've ever heard of the Business Action Center. Obviously, we're not going to be doing that. But Business Action Center is part of the state government, specifically the Secretary of State, and that's Taisha Way. And we're the business advocates for the state. So I happen to be the manager of the Office of Small Business Advocacy. I want to give you a little bit of overview of the entire organization, and then I'll talk a little bit more about small businesses and how we've been working with the library now for quite some time. So we have a team that are business advocates without the small in the name. And they work with, the best way for me to describe it is they work on projects. So a business wants to come to New Jersey, or a business is looking to expand. They need help through the regulatory process. They have to deal with the Department of Environmental Protection or the DOT to get a road opening permit to build their building or to expand their building. That's our business advocacy team. They work on those kinds of projects. We also have a planning advocacy team, which is really the constituency for that. Our government agencies, local governments. So I'm not going to go too far into that as a resource. But then we have a export promotion team. That's a big one. A lot of small businesses don't realize that only 2% of the world's consumers live in the state of New Jersey. Live in the United States, 2%. So one way you can expand your business is to get into exporting. We have an entire team that can help you do that, including a grant that we received from the SBA for helping businesses go and promote themselves as an exporter. So if you want to go to a fancy food show in New York, we can help pay for that registration fee, which can be quite expensive. Or if you want to go to Europe and go to a trade show there, we'll help pay for the registration fees for that. So there are opportunities there for businesses that want to get into exporting or expand their footprint in the exporting world. And we've had some great success. In fact, that's we received the largest amount of funding available through the SBA because we've had so much great success over the last several years with that program. And you know, we've had wineries that are exporting to Asia. We have ice cream companies and hot sauce companies that are exporting. No, not all food and beverage. We have a parachute company that is exporting. So we have a lot of different kinds of businesses that have become exporters. I'm a small business advocate. My job is to work with small businesses to see that they can get the resources that that they need. One of the things that we do is the state provides funding to the small business development centers, so Jacqueline's group. We're the state funding partner for them, the Business Action Center, as well as the funding they get from the SBA and their host organizations and so on. I work very closely with the Ptac Center. I work closely with the library. In fact, I first learned about some of the resources that the library has to offer for businesses at one of our events, in which we invited the library to talk about that. And we do an event called Resource for Growth. I had 2 scheduled for the first part of this year, which of course have gotten canceled because of we can't gather. But we'll be doing some more of those. And we bring in resource providers from across the spectrum, from the rural development team at the U.S. Department of Agriculture, from the library, from the SBDC, from the micro-lending community, the regulatory people, all of the people that small businesses may touch or have needs to that can be satisfied from those groups. Those are the kinds of people that we want to put you in contact with. And it's all the stages of your life cycle. I'll start with an entrepreneur that is interested and needs counseling services, and I will refer them to the Small Business Development Center or to SCORE. In fact, we can help them go through also go through the regulatory process of getting their certifications, getting their licenses. What kind of licenses does a business need? You'd be surprised that most businesses don't need a quote-unquote license. They need to be registered, they don't need a license, but we can connect you with that. Learning about your obligations as a business owner, we can help you with that. Becoming a government contractor. As I said, we work with Raul. By the way, I will confirm what Rachel said about Raul being a little different. You would never use the word reserve when you're talking about Raul. So we work with those groups to help you. And the one county that is not covered by the Ptac Center at NJIT is covered by the UCEDC. We make relationships with that team as well. So if you're in Union County, that's where you would go to. So our job is to connect you to those resources. I heard Andrea say earlier in an earlier session about one of the goals is, one of success stories is an entrepreneur who starts this process of learning and planning and then decides this isn't for me. So I'm not going to start my business. And that's a success because they didn't lose their house. They didn't make their investment. Andrea said, I don't remember who said that. It was me. I was the one that said that. So, and the way I describe it is this. I am not here to give you what you ask for. My job is to give you what you need. So we need to, what I like to do with a small business is have a conversation. Let me do a little bit of a needs assessment. Nothing as formal as that sounds. But let me hear what you're trying to accomplish. Let me hear your goals, your dreams, your challenges that you are facing. And let me try to figure out a pathway for you to achieve those goals or to overcome those challenges. And the way I do that is to navigate the resources that are available to you and make those connections for you. That's my job. That's what I try to do. So you don't need to do the kinds of in-depth research on every program. Let me talk to you and figure out where you should be. I use the resources of all of the organizations that are talking to you today. Teamwork, partnerships are what this is all about. We all work together. I'm on Reference USA from the State Library all the time. I have one of my staff members who I send to a class to learn even more about it. We use those applications. So should you. We use the Small Business Development Centers. I love coming to their events. I love having them at my events. We talk to SCORE. We talk to the Ptac Centers. We are all interconnected for one purpose, and that is to help businesses navigate things in New Jersey. But say one couple of other things that are just a little stranger. One of the things that fall under our jurisdiction, motion picture and television. So if you happen to be a budding producer out there, give me a call. We can help you navigate that world as well. Or if you have a really interesting building or a really interesting site, we can put that into a database for you, which when a producer is looking for a location, we can show them the database and they may be, who knows, maybe coming to your old Victorian home to use it as a movie set. But we have those kinds of services as well. So it's a very broad thing. So how do you contact us? 1-800-JERSEY-7. You call 1-800-JERSEY-7. That connects you to the Business Action Center. We're all teleworking right now, so obviously the system is a little bit more clunky than it normally is, but you will be forwarded to our cell phones if you call that number. I do want to mention COVID-19. That's been our focus for the last several weeks, connecting people to the resources that they need, talking about how a self-employed person can get unemployment. That's available now. As of today, people who have applied for unemployment, who were rejected because they were self-employed, have been starting to get the information from the Department of Labor about getting pandemic unemployment assistance starting today. So, or actually starting yesterday. So there are some resources out there that are now available that I would like you to take a look at. Also, if you go to covid19.nj.gov or to CV, COVID virus, cv.business.nj.gov, there's a list of questions on that site, all kinds of questions about COVID-19 and the benefits that you can get. There's a little icon there that you can do a chat bot. You can click on it and ask questions, communicate with a live operator. Those live operators are from the Business Action Center. We'll be able to answer some of your questions. Some questions we can't answer because we're not lawyers, but we can give you guidance on executive orders and resources that are available to you. So if you have any of those kinds of questions, if your clients have any of those kinds of questions, please reach out. And that's the last thing I'm going to say is that as a librarian, remember us as a resource. I want to cooperate with you in both ways. I want to be able to send people to the library for research, but I also want your librarians to understand that they can reach out to us and ask us questions and better serve your clients because you'll be able to get answers that maybe typically you don't have, but you can reach out to us and we'll give them to you. So anyway, that's the Business Action Center in a nutshell, and thanks.
Thank you so much, Don, for all that information, and also for telling me that you were the one who told me the other thing about you're successful, you don't start your business, because that would have driven me crazy. So thank you. And last but not least, Jean, and you represent or you work with all of the scores across New Jersey, correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay, so we're really excited to hear more about what SCORE offers, and I know that SCORE has partnerships with many libraries across the state, but ways that maybe we can work together a little bit better, or some of the other services that libraries might not be aware of. So I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thanks, and thanks for having me. I was looking forward to this, so much so I put on a clean sweatshirt today. So originally I thought we'd meet in Manalapan, which, if you recall, the library is 1 mile from my house. So I was really looking forward to Don. I thought we would meet there as well. But anyway, SCORE. So I'll give the 2-minute commercial for SCORE as to who we are. I will assume many, if not most of the people are familiar with us. But SCORE is a national organization. We're funded through Congress, by Congress, through a grant, through the SBA. There are about 350 chapters across the country, over 13,000 volunteers. So the important thing to remember about is, one of the important things is we are an all-volunteer organization, except for the headquarters group who are full-time employees, probably about 25 people. The rest of us are all volunteers. SCORE came into existence in 1964 when the idea came through the SBA to take advantage recently retired executives and put them back to work, although the pay was not very good, but to put them back and take advantage of their experience. Well, that has grown and evolved, and I said over 13,000 of us. We come from all walks of life. We have attorneys, we have a lot of accountants, a lot of CPAs. We come from small business environments, major corporations, top executives of major corporations. We have retail people, wholesale people, IT people, marketing people. So virtually any discipline that a client may need, we generally have someone or many who have that experience, including not-for-profit businesses as well. Why do we do this? As my wife just said to me as I was coming upstairs to go on, she said, "You're going to work again?" Well, it's not really work. This should be fun for all of us. And why do we do it? The old cliche is it's a way of giving back, and a lot of that is true. Things have been good, and we have all this experience, and it's a good thing to do. But it also is, if it doesn't make us feel good, there's no reason for us to do this. And when you see success and you ride along Pagani Highway throughout the state, and you see business that you know we mentored, gives you a very rewarding feeling. I'll talk about these times in a little bit, and certainly it has a whole additional aspect to it. So let's bring SCORE back to the state of New Jersey. Yes, Andre, I'm the SCORE District Director. I have under me 8 chapters, 8 chapter chair people, about 350 volunteers, and again, from all walks of life. We work with clients either through face-to-face appointments. We used to be using the libraries very, very often for the face-to-face mentoring sessions. Right now, everything obviously is being done virtually. And by the way, just a side note, I said we come from all walks of life. I was an executive, ran several different small businesses, usually in the video conferencing world in the early days and up through till about 10 years ago. In fact, some of the executives on Zoom used to work for me, so it's kind of rewarding to see what's happened and things we were pitching 25 years ago are now in reality. So anyway, we provide our services. By the end of this year in New Jersey, we will have touched about 20,000 services to the public. And what services mean? Face-to-face mentoring sessions. Well, I'll change that. One-on-one mentoring sessions. Can be face-to-face, can be through virtual, can be email mentoring, can be phone sessions. Right now, most of it being as we're talking right now. Also, our seminar programs go into the total services. We have a very robust seminar program, now webinar programs. And then by the end of the year, we will have touched about 20,000 sessions. So again, why do we do it? The numbers keep growing. We do it to make people feel, we do this because it makes us feel really good. We see the success ratio. And yes, the libraries, as Andre, as you had said, we use many, many, many of the libraries across the state. I'd like to see it, and as we've spoken, to be a whole lot more. We use them for mentoring, we use them for seminars. Right now, perhaps we can do more with virtual seminars through your services and our combined email list or contact list. But I will say, in our little discussion before we went on live here, what's happened in the last 2 months, and we've been using the term SCORE more than ever. The numbers have just been growing dramatically. The people are reaching out to us. The amount of information, as we have all said, we work very closely with the SBA, and some of the information is confusing and changing daily, so people are reaching out to us dramatically. Again, all the services are free. We work very closely. Don and I are establishing a relationship. Just nod if you agree with that, Don. Yeah. Jackie was my counterpart when I ran Monmouth County for SCORE, and we now have relationships around the state better relationships with the SBDC than in the past. And so we work hand in hand with these organizations, and whether we take people from a startup or people who've been in business 15, 20 years, we keep giving them the services. Prior to the crisis right now, generally there were about four different categories where we'd see, and these categories will expand out. Well, we have people come in and say, I want to start a business. What's the entity I should become? What is a corporation? Should I become an LLC, a subchapter? And we'll work with them generally, just like several of you see an LLC. We'll work with them to find out exactly what they need and where they want to go and what their goals are. The second aspect is, okay, I need a business plan. What do I do about a business plan? One of my clients, who's still with me for years, he has a wonderful product to assist autistic children in the communications. He's won some regional and national awards. He's growing. When he first came to us, he had this wonderful product, and he said, write a business plan. He said, I'm a teacher and an animator. I would rather have the old story. And he said this, I would rather have a root canal than write a business plan. Well, we worked with him. He wrote it. We mentored. He wrote it. And very shortly, he got a $250,000 grant out of a federal grant. So we helped him with their business plans. The third portion, which takes a different flavor right now, is, what do I do about financing? What do I do about, what do I need to get a loan? Where do I go? Who do I see? And we help them. And again, and Jackie, in the last year or so, we work very closely. We'll prepare them, work with the SBDC, who have more contacts into the banking industry, and help them with their loans or receiving funding. It could be alternate funding as well. The fourth spoke here is marketing. Well, the question is, how many, if we're talking in a seminar, how many people have a website? Everyone should raise their hand. And then you ask the next question, how many people think it's effective? And then virtually no one raises their hand. So we help them with the marketing, social media. Sometimes it's old-fashioned marketing, if you will. But those typically are the four major areas we would see. Now, the fifth area, obviously, is dealing with the crisis and answering the questions on unemployment, CARE Act, et cetera, et cetera. So again, we have 8 chapters. You can look up, and anybody who needs to reach us on score.org, put in your zip code, we'll assign you to a chapter. If any of the libraries want to talk about getting closer relationships with us, Andrea has all the contacts. You can reach out to me. Andrea can give you the information, or if you want to put my email address on the chat. But we are looking to do more and more with the libraries as well with our other partners. So again, thanks for having me, and I hope everyone stays healthy.
Great. Thank you so much, all of you, for this very useful information. There's a couple, I'll let people put questions in the chat, and Naomi, if you wouldn't mind pulling those together in a second. But I did have my own question to ask all of you. So with COVID and everything that's in the news about the loans, those grants kind of selling out so fast, I think that there's this perception that it's bad everywhere for all businesses. But then I have heard some stories about businesses that have been able to pivot or change their services. So I was wondering if anyone would be able to speak to that, about how it's not necessarily a dire situation for every business, and that there are still things that businesses can do now to protect what they're doing, protect their businesses in this difficult time.
Well, I would love to answer that, Andrea. Sure. And it's true. I mean, there are some businesses that we've spoken to our clients, and they had to reevaluate what they're doing from where they are right now. It's a matter of looking at your business and saying, okay, with what I have, with what I sell, with the product that I have, how can I pivot my business? And some have been able to do that successfully. Some restaurants, you know, they can't have customers coming into their restaurants, have gone on to doing more online. So again, pivoting. We have an organization that works with us doing podcasts, and I used to love going to their podcast studio and taking my clients there and our speakers. Well, they went fully streaming online. You know, they stream us in from wherever location we're in. They're really good with memorabilia. So their memorabilia now is selling. So it really, the client has to stop and say, what is it that I have? What is it that I can do? And also in terms of their market, what are their customers doing now? Because we still need our products. So how is it that how am I able to connect with my client? And one of the things that we talk about, especially now, the conversation is about communication. How are they communicating with their clients based on their clients' needs? Because that's going to help them stop and think, how do I have to pivot my business based on what's happening with my clients, my market, and my industry? We've heard it on the news where some businesses have totally shifted from making alcohol to making sanitizers, you know, and this has happened even to those that are on the smaller level. It doesn't have to be, I know Bacardi did it, but so have other small businesses in New Jersey. So it's really stepping back for a minute and saying, okay, how can I still generate some revenue? What is it that my clients are doing or my potential market? Because now it's investigating your market and saying, there's a new market out there. What is it that they want? How do I develop that relationship with them? And with your old clients, it's about talking to them, having that communication going. It's not just about selling, but at that point, now you're starting to pivot because you're giving them information. They're giving you feedback. Now you're starting to rethink, okay, maybe my business model can no longer function the way it used to, but now I have to change. So again, pivoting. Am I seeing it in some businesses? Yes. It's not all doom and gloom. Yes, we've received endless calls about, am I going to get the funding? And in the meantime, we're like, okay, you're in queue. We have no control over that. No one here on this panel has control over what government has to do with their money. But while you're sitting at home, it's time for you to plan. You know, there's nothing wrong is going to happen for you to start thinking and saying, 3 months down the road, if that's when my business is going to open, what is it that I need to do to prepare for that? We have clients talking about employees. There's a huge issue with employees. For the SBDC, it was always about helping the small business get more employees. I said, this is the first time that we're on the opposite end where we had to say, oh, what do you do? Oh, you have to send them to unemployment. What kind of unemployment can they receive? You as a business owner, oh wait, you can receive pandemic unemployment. That whole scenario now with businesses, when they slowly start coming back, because when a business decides that it wants to come back, it's not about just the business. They have two things they have to look at: their supply chain here and who their customers here, and saying, is that going to happen? Because if their supplies are coming from another state that's still on lockdown, what are they going to sell? And then their clients here, how many people are really that gung-ho about saying, because I love to eat out, but I'm not running to any restaurants, but I will order food out like there's no tomorrow. We have menus in this house, so we order out. But so thinking again, how do I pivot? We know that for restaurants, there's those, apps that they could work with other organizations. I can't even think of them right now, and yet we use them, but looking at those organizations where people can order food, have it dropped off. So what are they doing? Thank you, DoorDash. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you. It's one of them. Yes, thank you. So what are they doing to use those other organizations that have changed their price structure? They're not as expensive as they used to be. So it's helping the restaurant industry. So looking at that and say, again, you mentioned pivoting. That's critical for every small business owner right now. No matter how well they're doing, you really need to go revisit your business plan. You need to go revisit your financials. You need to take a look at that cash flow and see how is that going to work for you moving forward. Because that's the only way that you are going to make an impact on the opening up your business again and the sustainability of your business. And there's nothing wrong with, again, making a plan. And now that you have the time, don't rush to make that plan. I said that wrong. Don't rush, but make a plan is what I meant to say. Because you do want to make sure that you look at your financials and you figure out what's going to be the best course of action. But there you definitely are looking at new markets and how everything is impacting your business. So you can really pivot your business, saying based on the market, based on my product, how can I reinvent my business again? One thing I realized for some individuals is almost going back to the beginning. When you first started a business, you were working on projections. There was no history on how your business was doing. And you had to come up with financial statements, your performance statements, to figure out, okay, what do I anticipate I am going to make in the future? Well, guess where we are right now? There was no history for what we're going through right now. And they have to look at their financials and say, if I want my business to succeed, what are the things that I have to change? Financially, what are the decisions I have to make personally and in my business in order for that to happen? And pivoting, you're going to hear the word pivoting so much. Because to me, that's like key. Everything is about pivoting your business, looking at your market, your product, and how do you go about reinventing yourself. So I know we're seeing it within our clients, those that are moving forward, and other things that entrepreneurs are doing. And I was on a call yesterday with a chamber, and that side hustle is coming back. For those that said, well, I couldn't get unemployment, but I'm doing another side hustle for now, you never know where that side hustle is going to go. So now it's an opportunity to explore other things, especially with what Don was saying. If you start a business and you weren't happy with it anyway, it's an opportunity. Everything that's going on, if we really look, we'll find an opportunity in what's going on. Maybe challenging, but there's always an opportunity out there.
I'd like to just, and I know we're running short on time, but I'm going to be very brief. This is not new. This event is new and its scope is huge. But
Right.
I used to talk about continuity planning quite often. And yes, you could have a superstorm like Sandy, or you could have something like this, which is totally unprecedented. But a coffee pot that burns down your building and only affects your business is still the same principle, still a business continuity issue. So I'll give you an example. I have a retail store that contacted me that construction project on the street out in front of the store, which was going to take months to complete, had completely destroyed the foot traffic into their building. So what did we do? Well, we talked about online sales, improving their website, and making a plan that that pivots their business model, to use Jacqueline's term, so that they can survive through this, at that point, short-term construction project that was affecting their business. So that's what it's all about. It's being flexible, being able to pivot, staying in contact with your customers, which is very, very important, so that they know you're still out there, and working through these problems. And again, it's not any different than if you got hit by a hurricane, a pandemic, or a fire. The same principles still apply about continuity planning. And so it's important to actually have a plan even before these kinds of things happen. Because what would I do if this happened? What would I do if that happened? Come up with different scenarios. Now it's a little, now we're in the midst of it, but moving forward, it's still the same, those same principles still apply.
And I have to add to what Don was saying. It's all about the mindset. And, I talk about, for myself, the entrepreneurial mindset. Because an entrepreneur, how they think it's going to make all the difference in the world. Because what's the difference between an entrepreneur today and one from a year ago? What's the difference? Nothing. Their environment. But they know how to adapt. And one thing I have to say that I've been saying lately is go back to your SWOT analysis. I live and die by a SWOT analysis. So do most organizations. It's the easiest thing you could do for your business right now. If you don't know where to start, go back and do a SWOT analysis, because that's going to point you in the direction that you need to go. So,
and Joe Lamberti from UC-EDC is still joining us from earlier, and he is very excited to share a story related to this question. So
yeah, I've been in and out, but hello, old friends and colleagues. It's nice to see you virtually. Yeah, the couple of points that have been made about focusing on a business plan and recognizing your strengths and weaknesses, opportunities, threats through the SWOT analysis. Two quick examples that we've been able to reference now in this new world as we continue to do training programs via video chat through Zoom. One is a client that was a graduate of our entrepreneurship course, our 7-week course. A distillery in the middle of Burlington County, of course, can't do any of the tastings in their room. They're still doing some distribution, but because they had because they were so adept at the rest of the process, the bottling and the production and so forth, they just pivoted and turned that into creating hand sanitizer. So they stayed in touch with their community and their base of support by giving it away to the community, but then created a line where they could sell it in bulk to larger organizations. And it's something that they'll continue to do once we get out of this. Another good example is a tailor makes custom apparel. For he's in a niche market, but he couldn't get materials now to finish people's custom suits or other apparel and so forth. But with the material that he had around that would have gone to waste, he created masks. And in the same sense, rewarded the community, got some really goodwill that way, and is looking into other channels and other lines that he can do based on the successful operation that he's built up, and just changing, creating new opportunities out of a really difficult threat right now.
great, thank you so much.
Okay.
And Naomi, I think we had a couple questions come through the chat. Including, I'll let you take over, sorry.
No, it's okay. So we have a question that says, okay, wait, hold on, I went too far back. This is a question for Jean. So it says, have Monmouth and Ocean County businesses reached out to your organization right now during the crisis?
God, yes.
Yes, very much so. As I said earlier, the phrase score more than ever right now, very much so. And again, private one-on-one mentoring and a huge increase in attending our webinars.
Yeah, and again, I mentioned before we had the chat bot that people have been going to, literally thousands of calls, thousands of conversations per week, and our telephones have now 3 times the volume that we normally get. So yes, we're constantly working with businesses. I happen to be an Ocean County resident, and I spoke to a business earlier today that is about a mile that way here in Ocean County. So yes, Ocean County and Monmouth County businesses are reaching out to us constantly.
Same thing with us. I mean, we have, since our organization is statewide, our particular center covers Monmouth and Ocean County. Again, just like my colleague Jean, the calls that we've been fielding just within our region, again, hitting top numbers, and that goes across the state as well. I do want to say that I put in the chat box URL for a site that Don mentioned earlier, and thank you for that. I was like, I should get that in there. And that is NewJerseySmallBusinessHelp.com. And it's a site that we created, the NJSBDC, our headquarters, which is out of Rutgers University. And you can access that site and receive information for everything you need within the state, in the federal government. It'll give you information regarding other funding opportunities, as well as including information from the Department of Labor. So it's a really robust site, and it has a chat box as well. That's one of the things I was excited about. Then I said, oh yes, we have a chat box. So it's very interactive, and you can receive a great deal of information just by going to that site. And you're right, that's where I used to go, cvbusiness.nj.gov. Yes, Don, we have it on our site as well.
Good.
Don is right, and that is the site for the state. So we have it for the state, we have it for the federal government, and just to let people know that there are private entities out there that are providing funding, and there's grant opportunities. So by visiting NJSmallBusinessHelp.com, you can receive that information on that website, as well as being able to connect with any NJSBDC center in the state of New Jersey. You'll be able to connect with them directly from that site.
Great.
Okay. And then we have one last question, and it says, are webinars open to anyone? They don't have to live in the area of the SCORE chapter.
Yes, yes. No, what we're trying to do is eliminate or alter the silos that have been set up. And especially in these times, there's no reason for anyone not to join any webinar of their choice, or reach out across if you want to use a particular mentor in another area. Yes, I mean, the idea is to service the client, not to keep our silos. So feel free to join any webinar that might be of interest.
And I'm going to do, just because I know we're about to close, I want to make one last point. I'm going to disagree with Gene on something he said before, and other people that have heard me speak will understand what I'm talking about. He said that his services are free. They are not free. Just like your libraries are paid for by the taxpayers, so are all the services from the organization that are up here today. So when you have a customer or a client or in your library, and they're not taking advantage of the services that are available through them, for them, that is provided by the taxpayer, they are paying for a service they're not using. And the example I use is, you don't go into a restaurant, leave the money on the table, and leave without eating the meal, because your competition will come in and eat your lunch for you. So you always want to take advantage of these resources. And just like taking advantage of the library, taxpayer-supported resources should be used by everybody. So that's my one disagreement with Gene. These are not free services. These are taxpayer-supported.
That's what we say. It's your tax dollars at work. I'm with you, Don.
Just have one comment in closing.
Sure.
And I just would like to thank Jean for sending Suzanne Miller south to us in South Jersey. She was in the library for several years, and she really impacted a lot of people's, business growth. So I don't know you, but I just want to thank you all at SCORE for sending her our way.
Well, I didn't do it, but I'll take the credit. Thank you.
I'm not surprised, Jean.
One thing I learned in business, when things are going bad, you take the blame. When it's going good, take the credit. But I'm glad it worked out for you.
Yeah, for a lot of people. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. It is not easy to come in at the end of the day. It is not easy to stay online for an entire day. And so many of you did. So I am just so impressed. Thank you so much to our presenters. Thank you to you for participating as attendees and finding value in this. So I just have a couple closing remarks, and then I'll let you all go. So that brings us to the end of the 2020 NJLibsGrowBiz Virtual Summit. I hope that you are logging out today with a new resource, contact, or idea that you can bring to your library. And I also hope that you will share what you do with the information that you gather today, because I really want to hear about it and I want to be able to share that with others. We are living in unprecedented times. We are continuing to build our capacity as librarians to benefit our business and entrepreneur communities, and now we are doing so under increased pressure. However, I'm confident that by continuing to be responsive to community needs, by listening, being present, and by displaying creativity, passion, and resourcefulness, libraries will serve as vital components of the recovery. Thank you once more for joining us. As we end today, I will ask you to fill out an evaluation form. I believe that Naomi has already shared it, and will share it again. And you will also get it in an email, because it's that important to get those evaluation forms. The data helps us to send information to the Institute of Museum and Library Services. And it's also very valuable to us to know what we can do better at the State Library. If you have any questions or concerns, you can contact me or Naomi. I have our phone numbers, which are forwarding to ourselves, and also our email addresses. And thank you once more. Thank you doesn't seem like a strong enough word for how appreciative I am for all of you being here today. So have a wonderful rest of your day. You will be able to find the handouts and links online, and I will be sending that information out shortly. So thank you. Have a great day.